the Lord. Number 7, to commit simple activities on the strength of the holy name. Number 8, to consider the chanting of Hare Krishna as one of the auspicious ritualistic activities which are offered in the Vedas as fruitive activities, Karma Kanda. Number 9, to instruct a faithless person about the glories of the holy name. Number 10, to not have complete faith in the chanting of the holy name and to maintain material attachments even after understanding so many instructions on this matter. It is also an offense to be inattentive while chanting. Every devotee who claims to be a Vaishnava must guard against these offenses in order to achieve the desired success, that is Krishna Prema. Hare Krishna, I once again welcome you all to the Bhakti Sanghajapa conference call. Please accept my humble obeisances. So today we will be moving on to our next session, which is Srimad Bhagavatam. So before moving to the next session, let me know who are all on the call. Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna Mataji, Dandavat Pranam, Srila Prabhupada ki jai, Guru Maharaj ki jai. This is Arvind from Chicago. Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna, Arvind Prabhuji. Thank you so much, Prabhuji, for joining the call and giving your time and association. All glories to Srila Prabhupada. Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna, Nithamat.
Hare Krishna, Tiffany Mataji. Please accept my humble obeisances. Hare Krishna, am I audible?
Yes, we can hear you, Mataji.
Yeah. Hare Krishna, Tiffany Mataji. Please accept my humble obeisances. All glories to Srila Prabhupada. Thank you so much, Mataji, for joining the call. Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna, Anita Mataji, please accept my humble obeisances. All glories to Srila Prabhupada, all glories to Guru Maharaj, and all glories to assembled devotees. This is Radha from Baltimore.
Hare Krishna, Radha Mataji, please accept my humble obeisances. All glories to Srila Prabhupada. Thank you so much, Mataji, for joining the call. Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna, Mataji, Dandavat Pranam. All glories to Prabhupada, all glories to Guru Maharaj, all glories to assembled devotees. This is Mohini Lakshmi from Detroit.
Hare Krishna, Mohini Lakshmi Mataji, please accept my humble obeisances. All glories to Srila Prabhupada. Thank you so much, Mataji, for joining the call. Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna, Anita Mataji, all glories to Srila Prabhupada and Guru Maharajis. My humble obeisances to you and all the devotees. This is Krishna Kumar Devidasi from Rani.
Hare Krishna, Krishna Kumari Mataji, please accept my humble obeisances. All glories to Srila Prabhupada. Thank you so much, Mataji, for joining the call. Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna, Anita Mataji, Dandavat Pranam, all glories to Srila Prabhupada. This is Vinita Gandharvika Devidasi from Texas. Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna, Vanita Mataji, please accept my humble obeisances. All glories to Srila Prabhupada. Thank you so much, Mataji, for joining the call and giving your time and association. Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna, Mataji, Dandavat Pranam. All glories to Srila Prabhupada. All glories to all the devotees. This is Sushmita from Mississauga.
Hare Krishna, Shushmita Mataji, please accept my humble obeisances. All glories to Srila Prabhupada. Thank you so much, Mataji, for joining the call and giving your time and association. Hare Krishna. Hare Krishna, is there anyone else who would like to introduce? Hare Krishna, once again welcome all of you to the Bhakti Sanghajapa conference call. So we will be moving on to our next session, that is Srimad Bhagavatam. Class will be given by His Grace SutaGoswami Prabhuji on Bhagavatam, Canto 5, Chapter 19 and Text 19. Before going to the class, I will hand over the call to Shureshwar Shyam Prabhuji for giving brief introduction about His Grace SutaGoswami Prabhuji. Hare Krishna, Shureshwar Shyam Prabhuji. Thank you so much, Prabhuji, for joining the call and giving your valuable time and association. All glories to Srila Prabhupada. Please accept humble obeisances, Prabhuji. Over to you, Prabhuji. Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna, Mataji, Dandavat Pranam. All glories to Prabhupada and Guru Maharaj. A brief introduction about SutaGoswami Prabhuji. His Grace SutaGoswami Prabhuji took to Krishna consciousness in the year 2008 and was initiated by His Holiness Radhanath Swami Maharaj in the year 2019. Over the past years, Prabhuji held important service at ISKCON NVCC. Most notably, he was the personal assistant of His Grace Radheshyam Prabhuji. He is currently serving as the project manager at the Bhakti Yoga Club, Kardi. Prior to monkhood, Prabhuji was a computer science engineer and worked at Cisco Technologies. Hare Krishna Mataji, back to you Mataji.
Hare Krishna Prabhuji. Thank you so much Prabhuji for giving. Prabhuji hasn't joined.
Mataji, I don't see Prabhuji on the call.
Yeah, so then let's continue with chanting.
Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Ram, Hare Ram, Ram Ram, Hare
Can you hear me?
Yes, Mataji. Shamagauri Mataji.
Yeah, I said we can continue with the introduction. Any devotee wants to introduce themselves, they can go ahead.
Yes, Mataji. So devotees, if you want to introduce yourself, please come forward.
Hare Krishna, Anita Mataji, Dandavat pranams to you and all the assembled devotees. All glories to Srila Prabhupada and Guru Maharaj. This is Lalitangi Radha Devi Dasi from Toronto. Very beautiful background, Mataji. Srimati Radharani ki jai.
Thank you so much, Mataji. All glories to Shri Shri Radha Madhav. Thank you, Mataji, for joining the call. Please accept my humble obeisances. All glories to Srila Prabhupada. Thank you for giving your valuable time and association. Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna Mataji, Dandavat Pranam, Srila Prabhupada ki jai, Guru Maharaj ki jai. This is Valli from Naperville, Chicago. Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna, Valli Mataji. Please accept my humble obeisances. All glories to Srila Prabhupada. Thank you so much, Mataji, for joining the call. Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna Mataji, this is Harita from Houston, Texas. All glories to Srila Prabhupada and all the assembled devotees. Please accept my humble obeisances. Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna, Harita Mataji. Please accept my humble obeisances. All glories to Srila Prabhupada. Thank you so much, Mataji, for joining the call. Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna, Anita Mataji. Guru Maharaj. This is Shyamaguri Devi Dasi from Charlotte.
Hare Krishna, Shyama Gauri Mataji. Please accept my humble obeisances. All glories to Srila Prabhupada. Thank you so much, Mataji, for joining the call and giving your valuable time and association. Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna, Anita Mataji, Dandavat Pranam, Srila Prabhupada ki jai, Guru Maharaj ki jai, Priti Dasi from Charlotte. Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna, Priti Mataji. Thank you so much, Mataji, for joining the call. Please accept my humble obeisances. All glories to Srila Prabhupada. Hare Krishna. Hare Krishna, Chandrasekhar Prabhuji. Thank you so much, Prabhuji, for your valuable time and association. All glories to Srila Prabhupada. Hare Krishna. Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna.
So, is there anyone else who would like to introduce?
I think
Hare Krishna Mataji, please accept my humble obeisances to you and all the assembled devotees. Guru Maharaj ki jai, Prabhupada ki jai, Guru and Gauranga ki jai. This is Shivani from Ashram, Virginia. Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna, Shivani Mataji. Please accept my humble obeisances. All glories to Srila Prabhupada. Thank you so much, Mataji, for joining the call. Hare Krishna.
Yeah, Hare Krishna, dear devotees, you can unmute yourself and you can introduce yourself to the other devotees so that way we can get connected. Thank you so much.
Hare Krishna Mataji. This is Shruti Manokar from Pune. All glories to Srila Prabhupada. All glories to assembled devotees.
Hare Krishna, Shruti Mataji. Please accept my humble obeisances. All glories to Srila Prabhupada. Thank you so much, Mataji, for joining the call. Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna Mataji. All glories to Srila Prabhupada and all the spiritual masters. My respectful obeisances to all the Vaishnavas and Vaishnavis on this call. I'm Deepika from Mumbai.
Hare Krishna, Deepika Mataji. Please accept my humble obeisances. All glories to Srila Prabhupada. Thank you so much, Mataji, for joining the call. Hare Krishna. So Prabhuji has joined. Hare Krishna, Prabhuji. Hare Krishna. Hare Krishna, Prabhuji. Please accept my humble obeisances. All glories to Prabhupada. So Hare Krishna, all the devotees. Thank you so much for joining the call. So I welcome all of you to the Bhakti Sangha Japa conference call once again. So now we will be moving on to our next session, that is Srimad Bhagavatam, which is on Canto 5, Chapter 19. Sorry, Canto 5, yeah, Chapter 19 and Text 19, that will be given by His Grace SutaGoswami Prabhuji. Thank you so much, Prabhuji, for joining the call. Please accept my humble obeisances. All glories to Srila Prabhupada. Over to you, Prabhuji. Hare Krishna. Prabhuji, we cannot hear you.
Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna, Hare Hare.
Yes, Prabhuji. Now audible.
Now the voice is audible?
Yes,
Hare
Prabhuji. Hare Krishna.
Okay. Hare Krishna. So I'm addressing this forum for the first time and extremely grateful to each and every devotee and for the entire Sangha for inviting me. Thank you so much. So, Mataji, maybe you can briefly tell me about this Sangha of devotees. Are they all 16 rounder devotees or are they newly connected? Can you just briefly tell me? I don't know. Anita Mataji, I think.
Yes, Prabhuji. Shama Gauri Mataji.
Okay.
They are mixed kind of devotees, Prabhuji. We have all devotees joining from all over the world. They are some of the new devotees, some are initiated, some are, very senior like that. Everybody together.
No problem. Okay. Thank you so much. I am extremely grateful to each and every one of you. So this is the regular morning Bhagavatam session, right? It goes for 45 minutes or so. How long does it? Okay.
Yes, one hour, Prabhuji.
Okay. So a request, we'll start with prayers now, but I have a small request to each and every devotee who's present. If possible, you can please switch on your videos. Because if the videos are on, then I'll get an impression that some devotees are actually listening. Otherwise, I can see all black boxes over here, just with names. So I don't know what is happening behind those boxes, right? So extremely grateful that all the devotees who have already switched on their videos. And let's begin with today's discussion. Hope you all had a wonderful Gaur Purnima festival yesterday. And today for many of you, it's early morning. For us, it's almost 5 p.m. over here. So, and after a Gaur Purnima festival, maybe most of you are already tired. Many of you have had intense services, maybe in your own centers or wherever you were. So very, very grateful that you have all joined. So let's begin with prayers. Om Ajnanatimirandhasya Jnananjana Shalakhaya Chakshuranmilitam Yena Tasmai Shri Gurave Namaha Shri Chaitanya Manobhishtam Sthapitam Yena Bhutale Swayam Rupah Kada Mahyam Dadati Swapadantikam Vandeham Shri Guru Shri Yuta Padakamalam Shri Gurun Vaishnavamscha Shri Rupam Sagrajatam Sahagana Raghunathanvitam Tam Sajivam Sadvaitam Savadutam Parijana Sahitam Krishna Chaitanya Devam Shri Radha Krishna Padan Sahagana Lalita Shri Vishakhanvitamscha Nama Om Vishnu Padaya Krishna Preshthaya Bhutale Srimate Bhakti Vedanta Swaminiti Namine Namaste Saraswate Deve Gauravani Pracharine Nirvishesha Shunyavadi Paschati Deshatarine Jai Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhara Shri Vasadi Gaura Bhakta Vrinda Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna. So, A very warm welcome to all the devotees for this morning Bhagavatam session. So, since many days you're taking this 5th canto, 19th chapter, very important series of verses which we are discussing. And you have already been discussing Narad Muni's conversation and importance and glories of Bharata Varsha that's being discussed. So, okay. Yeah. So we have today's verse is 5th canto, 19th chapter, the 19th verse, which we are discussing. Before we move on to this particular verse today, quickly, can some of you just quickly recap 1 or 2 points? You can either type in your chat or you can just 1 or 2 points, right? Just some highlight points. Can you just quickly type in your chat, or you can unmute and speak also before we move on to today's topic? Something which is which you have been hearing since last 1 week, or maybe whatever you have been hearing.
Prabhuji, it was Hanumanji prayers to Lord Ram. So
right.
That we had for till, I think, till chapter 13. Yeah.
Right. Yeah. Hanumanji's prayers to Lord Ramachandra, and how Hanumanji is telling that once, if you have surrendered to Lord Ramachandra, then you don't have to do any extra efforts to do bhakti. Very easily you can practice bhakti. Yes, Narad Muni is offering prayers, which is the series that we are actually going through, and very important series of verses. Today's verse is also considered one of the most important verses which we'll be discussing. Okay, so moving on into today's verse, I'm just to inform you, I'm very poor in chanting Sanskrit verses, but I'll try my level best. So I'll first chant, and then many of you who are already experts, maybe you can try chanting better than what I'm going to do. So I'll share the screen and maybe I'll attempt to chant this particular verse. Looks like a difficult verse to chant. Okay. Srimad Bhagavatam, 5th chapter, 5th canto, 19th chapter, 19th verse. Asmin eva varshe purushe labdha janma bihi shukla lohito krishna varnena swarabdhena karmana divya manusha naraka gatayo bhavya atmana anupurvena sarvahi eva sarvesham vidhiyante yatha varna vidhi vidhanam apavargas chapi bhavati. Hare Krishna. So I managed somehow. If any one of you would like to recite, then we can follow. You can try. Yes.
Asminyev varshe purusherlabdha janmabhe shuklalohita krishna varnena swarabdhena karmana divyamanusha naraka gatayo bhavyatmana anupurvena sarvahi eva sarvesham vidiyante yata varna vidhanam apavargaschapi bhavati.
Thank you so much. Thank you. So we'll move on to, do we do word-to-word translation or just the translation directly?
It's all up to you, Prabhu.
Okay, we'll read the translation then. Okay, translation. The people who take birth in this tract of land are divided according to the qualities of material nature. The modes of goodness, sattva-guna, passion, rajoguna, and ignorance, tamoguna. Some of them are born as exalted personalities. Some are ordinary human beings, and some are extremely abominable. For in Bharat Varsha, one takes birth exactly according to one's past karma. If one's position is ascertained by a bona fide spiritual master and is properly trained to engage in service of Lord Vishnu according to the 4 social divisions, Brahman, Kshatriya, Vaishya, and Shudra, and the 4 spiritual divisions, Brahmachari, Grahastha, Vanaprastha, and Sannyas, one's life becomes perfect. Right? So beautiful translation and a wonderful purport which Prabhupada is giving, which we'll read through. So in this particular verse, Narad Muni is speaking some qualities of people here in Bharatvarsha, right? And what he has mentioned is very clear, that people here in Bharatvarsha, they are actually having three types of nature: mode of goodness, passion, and ignorance. And some of them are exalted personality, some of them are ordinary, and some are abominable. But what is most important is the second part of this verse, right? In Prabhupada's translation, the second part is very important. So irrespective of whether you're in Sattva Guna, whether you're in Rajoguna, whether you're in Tamoguna, or you are an exalted personality, or you're an ordinary human being, or completely abominable, there is something which Prabhupada is mentioning in the second part of translation, which gives us a lot of hope. Okay, let's read it again. If one's position is ascertained by a bona fide spiritual master, and one is properly trained to engage in service of Lord Vishnu, according to 4 social divisions and 4 spiritual divisions, one's life becomes perfect, right? So just with this translation itself, before moving on to the purport, one point is very clear. As devotees, irrespective of whether we are exalted or whether we are totally fallen, it doesn't matter. What matters the most is whether you have taken shelter of a bona fide spiritual master, or at least you're aspiring to take shelter and follow his instruction. And if you're following the instruction given by spiritual master, irrespective of whether you're Brahmin, Kshatriya, Vaishya, Shudra, Brahmachari, Grahastha, Vanaprastha, Sannyasa, or any, or in Sattva Guna, Rajoguna, Tamoguna, doesn't matter, right? You can grow from whichever position you are and advance in bhakti. That's the first point, which is quite evident from the translation, right? Moving on to the purport. Purport. For further information, one should refer to Bhagavad Gita 14:18 and 18:42 to 45, which we'll surely discuss. Ramanujacharya writes in his book Vedartha Sangraha. So there is this complicated verse, probably I'll prefer to skip this. In Vishnu Purana 389, the great sage Parashar Muni has recommended Varnasrama Charuvrata Purushena Parapuman Vishnu Aradhyate Pantha Nanyat Tat Tosha Karanam. The Supreme Personality of Godhead, Lord Vishnu, is worshipped by the proper execution of prescribed duties in the system of Varna and Ashrama, and there is no other way to satisfy the Lord. In the land of Bharatvarsha, the institution of Varnasrama Dharma may be easily adopted. At the present moment, certain demoniac sections of population of Bharatvarsha are disregarding the system of Varnasrama Dharma because there is no institution to teach people how to become Brahmana, Kshatriya, Vaishyas, or Shudras, or Brahmachari, Grahasthas, Vanaprastha, Sannyasis. These demons want a classless society. This is resulting in chaotic conditions. In the name of secular government, unqualified people are taking the supreme governmental posts. No one is being trained to act according to the principle of Varnashrama Dharma. And thus people are becoming increasingly degraded and are heading in the direction of animal life. The real aim of life is liberation, but unfortunately, the opportunity for liberation is being denied to people in general, and therefore their human lives are being spoiled. The Krishna consciousness movement, however, is being propagated all over the world to re-establish the Varnashrama Dharma system and thus save human society from gliding down to hellish life, right? So a beautiful purport and wonderful translation by Prabhupada and a beautiful verse. So this particular verse we are going to dwell upon today, especially the concept of Varnashrama. I'm sure that many devotees over here know this much better than what I'm going to speak today, but for my purification, I'll attempt. So first important point when you discuss Bhagavatam or any system, like in this case, we are discussing Varnasrama system, it is very important to understand the purpose behind the system. Any system that is created, it is very, very important why that system is being created, especially a system which Krishna himself has created. Krishna is telling Chaturvarnam Maya Shrishtam Guna Karma Vibhagasha. He's telling this system I have only created, the system of Varnashrama. So if Krishna has created some system, we have to understand the purpose behind that system. Of course, first canto of Srimad Bhagavatam says, Atap Pumbir Dvija Shrestha Varnashrama Vibhagashaha Swa Anushtitasya Dharmasya Samsiddhir Haritoshanam. Right? So Varnashrama system has one purpose. The purpose of Varnashrama system is to please the Supreme Lord. Whether you are Brahmin, Kshatriya, Vaishya, Shudra, Brahmachari, Grihastha, Vanaprastha, Sannyasi, everyone in this Varnashrama system has to understand that the purpose for which the Varnashrama system is created is to please the Supreme Lord, right? So before I move ahead, I'm again seeing some videos have gone off. My sincere request, in case you're okay, please switch on your videos so that I'll get some encouragement to speak. I'll get a feeling that I'm talking to devotees, not just to some computer, right? Thank you. Thank you so much. So then we have to understand the purpose behind this Varnashrama system, and the purpose is to please the Supreme Lord, right? Whatever you are, right? In India, it's quite famous, the caste system. It's quite infamous, probably I should say. Caste system is, they have in Vedic times, Brahmanas, during an era, they started claiming in the society that because we are Brahmanas, we are more superior and we have right to exploit the other lower caste people. So then people who were apparently Vaishyas or Shudras felt that this caste system or this Vedic system is actually these Brahmanas or Kshatriyas, they are taking shelter of these Vedic system and they are suppressing us, they are exploiting us. And then there was an upsurge, revolution, Baba Saheb Ambedkar and so many great personalities came forward. And then nowadays, there is an uproar in India that anybody who is on lower caste system, they have a special quota and many other things. But then this caste system came to existence. Why? Because people of higher caste thought that we are superior people because we are Brahmanas and we can exploit any others and we have right to do so. And Vedas give us right to exploit others. But this is a wrong understanding of Varnashrama Dharma, right? And this we'll try to discuss today. So first point, we'll try to clarify this particular point. So according to Varnashrama Dharma, what Vaishnavas follow, the Daivi Varnashrama system, there is division according to Varna and Ashrama. That is according to the skills that you have. If you're a good teacher, you can study Shastras, you can teach people, and you can do yajnik sacrifices, and you can live for the welfare of the society, then you are qualified to become a Brahmana, right? And if you are an administrator, you have fighting skills, you can protect citizens, you can manage people, then you are qualified to become a Kshatriya. And if you can invest money and make more money and take care of agriculture, cows, and then you are a qualified Vaishya. And if you have physical talent, if you have skills, physical skills, which you can use in the service of society, then you are qualified to become a Shudra. So here in Daivi Varnashrama system, irrespective of who you are, whether you're a Brahmana, Kshatriya, Vaishya, Shudra, everybody understands that I am here to serve the Supreme Lord or to serve the society. Well, I have been endowed with certain qualities by which I can serve as a Brahmana or a Kshatriya or a Vaishya or a Shudra. But irrespective of which position in the society I have, I am a servant, right? This is what Daivi Varnashrama means, and this is what a devotee should understand. A devotee should never be proud, oh, okay, I can read Shastras, I can read Bhagavatam, I can speak Bhagavatam class. That means I am superior to people who are just cleaning the temple, or superior to somebody who's just doing some physical activities. No. A devotee or a system wherein Vaishnavas are there, they will never consider this. They know that irrespective of whatever position I have been given, based on the talent that Krishna has given me, I am engaging my skills and my talents in service of Krishna. So in Daivi Varnashrama system, irrespective of whether you are Brahmana, Kshatriya, Vaishya, Shudra, one position of yours is very clear, that you are simply a servant. You're nothing else, but you're a servant to the society, and serving, and you're meant to serve and please the Supreme Lord instead, right? So your position as a servant is very clear. And as a servant, you may be a servant Brahmana, servant Kshatriya, servant Vaishya, or a servant Shudra. Doesn't matter, right? So then there is no exploitation, or there is no higher and lower class, right? So the Varnashrama system in itself is not wrong. The people use Varnashrama system as a shelter to exploit others, and this was wrong, right? So this is first thing which we need to understand, right? And a common notion which many devotees have, or many also in Vaishnava culture, this is spoken, that actually as a devotee, when we are chanting Hare Krishna, when we are hearing Bhagavatam, or when we are engaging in any of the devotional activities, a devotee doesn't have to much bother about Varnashrama as such. This is quite popularly known amongst devotee circles. They discuss that we don't have to bother much about Varnashrama. Ultimately, bhakti is above Varnashrama. Well, that is true. Definitely, bhakti is above Varnashrama. There is no doubt about it. But then, we need Varnashrama for material stability of the society, right? Moving on to an example for discussion. If you look into Chaitanya Charitamrita, there is this conversation between Ramananda Rai and Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. So there, Ramananda Rai is speaking and Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu is hearing. So there, the same verse which we just saw in the purport, same verse was quoted by Ramananda Rai in the beginning. What is that verse? Varnashrama Charavrata Purushena Parapuman Vishnu Aradhyate Pantah Nanyat Tattosha Karanam. So here, when the ultimate goal of life was being explained by Ramananda Rai said that everybody in the society has to perform their duty according to Varna and Ashrama, and that way they can satisfy the Lord. So if you look into Chaitanya Charitamrita, Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu says immediately, Eho Bahya. He says, oh Ramananda, I am not convinced with this answer, with this shloka. This seems quite external. Eho Bahya. So many devotees think that Chaitanya Mahaprabhu never supported Varnashrama. And Varnashrama is actually not needed for devotees. This is what many devotees say. But if you look into the entire conversation, Chaitanya Mahaprabhu rejected Varnashrama not as a lifestyle, but he rejected Varnashrama as goal of life. Well, goal of life is not to be called as a Brahmana, Kshatriya, Vaishya, Shudra, or Brahmachari, Grahastha, Banaprastha, Sannyas. That's not goal of life. But then this Varna and Ashrama is required to attain the goal of life. And what is the goal of life? To attain love of Godhead. No? Go back to Godhead and be eternally situated in the service of Supreme Lord. No, that is goal of life. So Varnashrama was never rejected by Mahaprabhu as lifestyle. No, Varnashrama is necessary, is very much necessary to practice spirituality peacefully also, right? So Krishna is telling in Bhagavad Gita, Chatur Varnam Maya Shrishtam Guna Karma Vibhagashaha. Everybody in this world is endowed with certain qualities, certain skills, by which one can earn one's livelihood. One can take care of one's body nicely. And not only one's own body, body of people who are dependent on him, right? Children, mother, father, or wife. So then this is, and we have to understand what kind of nature we have. Whether I'm a good teacher, or I can do sacrifices, or I can actually do administration. And so this nature, or I can actually do nice business and earn money and engage the same Lakshmi in the service of the Lord, or else I have some physical skills which I can use in the service of the Lord. So this we have to understand very clearly. So this is Varna part, right? Wherein one has to work in this material world. Even Krishna says in Bhagavad Gita, nobody is an exception. Everybody in this material world has to work for livelihood, right? Nahi suptasya simhasya pravishanti mukhe mruga. Nobody can just stay idle and say that, okay, everything will be taken care, right? And there have been Paramahamsa devotees who have done that, which we'll discuss for sure. But in general, you cannot expect to make a living without working. So you have to understand which Varna do you belong to, and then engage accordingly for maintaining one's body. Because body is a vehicle. You need a vehicle to reach your destination, right? And body is the vehicle by which you can attain the goal of life, of love of Godhead. And ashrama is for your spiritual stability, right? Either you can be a brahmachari, a student, and practice as a brahmachari for the rest of your life, wherein who's a brahmachari? Brahmachari is not some temple president in some ISKCON temple. No, brahmachari means he's servant of the entire society, right? He's supposed to serve the entire society, serve in whatever way. He's equivalent to Shudras. So brahmachari means he's a servant, right? He has to understand. And he's a student also. He's always learning. Brahmachari gurukule vasantanto guru hitam acharan dasavan nito guru suhrita sauhridam. So he's completely obedient to Guru's instruction, and there is no life beyond Guru's instruction for him. He's fully dedicated to Guru, and with humble menial service attitude, he's ready to do anything in the service of Guru, and definitely for his own spiritual upliftment. And if one is completely trained in Brahmachari ashram, he can move on to Grahastha ashram, wherein he has wife, children, and he has material responsibility which he should do to earn his livelihood, take care of his family. And then once he finishes his responsibility, then he moves on to Vanaprastha ashram, wherein he can completely give up his material responsibility, or begin to give up, and then move on to completely dedicate his life post normally beyond 50 years. And then sannyas means you don't live for yourself. You are just living because you're already attained, the Vaikuntha platform, but you're living for the sake of others, propagating message of Krishna. Wherever you get, keep on traveling and just propagate message of Krishna, and for sake of others and others' spiritual upliftment or spiritual upliftment of the society you're living. So these are Varna and Ashrama, which is necessary. According to one's nature, one should engage in one of the Varnas or one of the Ashramas. So Chaitanya Mahaprabhu never rejected Varnasrama system as a lifestyle, because it is important to give us stability in our material life, and only if our material life becomes stable, we can practice spirituality in a peaceful way, right? Of course, we will move on to some exceptions and some case study wherein actually there have been devotees who have never bothered about Varnasrama, and we'll try to understand and what level of devotees they were, right? So Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, moving on to Chaitanya Mahaprabhu and Ramananda Rai conversation. So Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, in his Grahastha life, he was following the principles of Grahastha ashram very strictly, very, very strictly. In fact, he married second time because he understood from Shastras that nobody should stay at home without a wife, right? And one should have a family life. And when he took up sannyas, he strictly practiced sannyas life, right? Was very, very strict as a sannyasi. All the rules and regulations. There are many, many instances in Chaitanya Charitamrita, especially if you see the Grahastha, if you see as a sannyasi, there is an incident where Govinda, his personal servant, brings some haritaki and he likes it. And next day, first day he took some time, and next day Govinda immediately brings. So then he said that actually I had kept something in store, yesterday's haritaki. So then Chaitanya Mahaprabhu says that somebody who has to keep in store, then he has to get married, because he's meant to be a grahastha, because in grahastha ashram one has to keep something for future also, right? And if you see, there's an incident where one Devdasi was singing Govinda Geet, and Chaitanya Mahaprabhu was running because he was so much intoxicated by this Govinda Geet which the Devdasi was singing, and he was running towards Devdasi. But then when Govinda stopped him, Chaitanya Mahaprabhu said that you have actually saved me from committing suicide today. Because if I would have gone and embraced that Devdasi was singing, then I would have no more be qualified to be called as a sannyasi. So as a sannyas, in sannyas ashram, Chota Haridas can see how strict Chaitanya Mahaprabhu was to follow the principles of that ashrama. He was very, very strict. So Chaitanya Mahaprabhu never said, oh, it doesn't matter. Well, what matters is how much devotion you have in your heart. Well, that is very important. What is internal, and that internal devotion is very important. But externally also one has to learn to follow the system that is being created by Krishna, right? So Bhakti Vinod Thakur mentions this particular point in one of his commentaries. He says that Varnasrama system is essential, especially because it makes one's practice of bhakti quite easy, right? Because if you have stability of ashrama, or if you have stability of varna, I'll give you an example. I'm sorry to deviate a little bit, but this was the time when I was working in Cisco company here in India. And I had a colleague at that time. So this colleague of mine, he was extremely hardworking, to the extent that he would come on weekends also to work, maybe work for 10, 15 hours or so. And he would, whatever project was given to him, he would try to do it to whatever level of sincerity was possible for him. But at home, his wife and children were frustrated. They were super frustrated. They would always come and complain to me. They would say that this person is never to be seen at home. He's all the time in office only. And the only thing he does is office work. Even on weekend, he doesn't take us out, doesn't take us anywhere. He doesn't even know what is going on in our lives. So his family members were super frustrated. So then I met him personally and I was asking him, why is this so? Everybody, there are so many employees in this company. They all take a weekend off. They all spend time with their family. Why are you not able to do that? So he told me that, see, I have already lost 3 jobs before this. And I have already lost so many jobs before this, and I'm afraid that I may lose this job also. So I don't want to be an underperformer in this company. I prefer to work on weekends. I'll work for 16 hours in a day. But if I lose this job, I don't know what will I do. So then I have to work hard, and I know I'm not so skilled that I can understand all this systems in the company. So I need more time. So when I was interacting with him, I could understand that this person, or this friend of mine, this colleague of mine, he was a very artistic person. He had a lot of interest in arts and photography and many other things. But then, as usual, you get educated and there is pressure to get married and getting into a job. And he never had an opportunity to work on his regular skills. So then this person, what was happening, he was not peaceful in his life because he was not working according to his nature. Even though he was earning good amount of money, but then he was always insecure that I may lose my job. What will happen to my job? and he was not at all enjoying his job, right? Because he was not working according to his nature. So we cannot rectify the situation we are in right now. But then Krishna says, it's always good to recognize your nature and work according to one's nature. So being situated in Varna, the right Varna, why is it important? Because if you are situated in the right Varna, then your mind will be peaceful. Your mind will be peaceful to practice bhakti peacefully, right? You can sit morning in Brahma Muhurta with japa beads, and peacefully you can say Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Ram, Ram Ram, Hare Hare. Not that 100 things are hovering in your mind. Oh, maybe my boss will call me. Maybe what is happening here? Oh, did I do that coding rightly yesterday? Many things. Well, peace of mind will be lost if you're not working according to your nature. So Krishna says, understand one's nature, understand one's varna, and be stable in ashrama. Whichever ashrama you are, you think you can practice bhakti peacefully, right? With peaceful mind. So varnashrama is very important, right? So Bhaktivinoda Thakur says that bhakti becomes very easy or very simple if one is situated in the right varna and ashrama, right? And some devotees say that, oh, what is the need for varnashrama? We just chant the holy name. Anybody can chant. Prabhupada said even a dog can chant, right? Even a dog can chant the holy name. Anybody is qualified to chant. So what is the problem? Why do you want to create sections, varnashrama section? Well, that is true. Actually, bhakti is above all this varnashrama. And practice of bhakti is not dependent on varnashrama. But the problem is, being in conditioned state, we are not transcendental. Definitely bhakti is transcendental to all these rules and regulation and systems. But the problem is we are not transcendental yet, right? We have to practice bhakti, but if our material life is unstable, we will not be able to practice bhakti because we are not Paramahamsas. We know story of Madhavendra Puri, who says in one of his shloka that I don't know about Sandhya Vandan, I don't know about the rituals. The only thing I know is Lord Govinda and I am his eternal servant. So Madhavendra Puri was definitely above bodily platform. He wouldn't even beg for food. He wouldn't even ask for food. He would just travel chanting the holy name from one place to another. And if somebody would offer him food, he will accept it, right? So Madhavendra Puri was definitely a Paramahamsa and he was beyond Varna Ashrama. But we have to see that for our own practice, we need a system of Varna Ashrama to be followed and to create a legacy. See, Krishna has created this system so that people in present and in future and in all time to come, they can practice peacefully bhakti if they're materially stable in their Varna and they're stable in their ashrama. And then they can chant irrespective. If you're a brahmachari, then what do? You wake up early in the morning, you attend Mangalarti, take bath, attend Mangalarti, chant your rounds, hear Srimad Bhagavatam class, and throughout the day, you engage in different services, temple services, go out for book distribution, and your day just goes by, and then studying Shastras, speaking about Shastras, following the instructions of Guru, being in ashrama like a menial servant. That's how a brahmachari leads his life. As a grahastha also, one wakes up early in the morning, chants his rounds, attends Mangalarti. Now blissfully he's practicing, and then he goes to his office, or maybe he has some occupation which he has to do, by which he has to earn money to maintain his family, and then some donation he gives to the temple, and that's how he leads his life. As Vanaprastha, again, he has finished all his material responsibilities. He has come, he's engaged in different services, and he also has grown-up children who are taking care of themselves, taking care of wife, and he's also staying at home, but fully engaged in services. And sannyasi is fully dedicated, traveling, preaching, and just distributing Krishna consciousness. So then, when one when this ashrama and varna is fixed, then there is a legacy to be followed, right? And there is stability in the system. And because one cannot practice bhakti 24 hours like Madhavendra Puri. One cannot chant 24 hours. So one has to chant, one has to engage oneself in different services also, which is very important, right? And services, how do you engage? According to one's own skills that Krishna has endowed us with, right? So that's how you engage in different services. So, yeah, I was just mentioning in Bhagavatam, it is mentioned that we cannot neglect our body and mind completely, because body and mind is necessary for performing bhakti. You have to take care of your body and you need stability of mind to practice bhakti, right? But bhakti in itself is definitely transcendental. Savai pumsam paro dharma yato bhakti radhokshache ahaituki apratihata yayatma suprasidati. Bhakti is transcendental. But then practitioners of bhakti may not be transcendental, right? And practitioners of bhakti need this system of varnashrama to be followed, and for material stability. And when you have material stability, then you can practice bhakti peacefully. See, bhakti you can do by hearing Shravanam, Kirtanam, Vishnu Smaranam, Pada Sevanam, Archanam, Vandanam, Dasyam, Sakhyam, Atma Nivedanam. There are 64 limbs that Rupa Goswami has mentioned. And by performing bhakti, what is bhakti? Bhakti is means by which you express your love towards Krishna, right? And following varnashrama, what is following varnashrama? Following varnashrama is means by which you express your respect towards Krishna by following the system which Krishna has created, right? And when you have this combination of both, right, then you can actually practice bhakti yourself very nicely, and you can encourage many others also by setting an ideal example. Like if there is an ideal grahastha devotee who is practicing bhakti nicely, then all other family men and women, they will take inspiration from them, that he is fulfilling all his material responsibility and still practicing bhakti seriously. So they get inspired. So you set a right example for the current generation and future generation, right? If you're an ideal brahmachari, you're following all the rules and regulations in brahmachari ashram, and you're enthusiastic, you're doing chanting the holy name and serving with a menial service attitude, then you are encouraging and setting an example for other brahmacharis and grahasthas, right? So varnashrama system in itself creates stability in society, and which is essential. And that is why in Ramananda Rai and Chaitanya Mahaprabhu's Samvad, initially Chaitanya Mahaprabhu rejected varnashrama as goal of life, but he never rejected varnashrama as a lifestyle. The proof is then later when Ramananda Rai says, Jnane prayasa udapasha namanta eva jivanti sanmukharita bhavadiya vartha sthane sthita shrutigata tanuva manobhir ye prayaso ajita jita jitastri loke. He says that doesn't matter where, in which ashrama you are, doesn't in which varna you are, wherever you are, be there only, sthane sthita. But what you have to do, in your own varna and ashrama, stay there and hear sthane sthita shrutigatam tanuvak manobhir, and engage your body, mind and soul in the service of Krishna. Body, mind and words in the service of Krishna. And thus, what you can do, you can conquer the unconquerable Supreme Lord. That's what Chaitanya Charitamrita Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu is emphasizing. So, in today's verse, we saw that how Prabhupada is mentioning in the verse. In the beginning, we saw in the, this point, I'll just show the translation again, share the screen. So here Prabhupada, in translation, Prabhupada is saying that one may be in mode of goodness, one may be in mode of passion, one may be in mode of ignorance, right? And one may be abominable, one may be an ordinary human being, or one may be an exalted personality, but doesn't matter. What matters the most is, well, you can do your duties in whatever position you are, but follow a bona fide spiritual master and take training under him, and then your life will be perfect, right? So if you see in Bhagavatam also, there are many instances. If you see Bali Maharaj's section, wherein Bali Maharaj, I'm sorry. Yeah, I'm sorry, I heard some voice. Yeah, I'm just concluding in a minute or so. So in Bhagavatam, there are many sections. If you see, in Bhagavatam, there is a description of bhakti that Lord Kapila gives. So in Lord Kapila Dev section, bhakti is described bhakti in 3 different modes. Bhakti in mode of passion, ignorance, and goodness. Right? If bhakti is transcendental, why is bhakti mentioned in 3 different modes? Well, bhakti is above these 3 modes. But practitioners of bhakti may be in one of these 3 modes, right? So we have to recognize that. We have to admit and recognize our own positions and then practice bhakti. But bhakti is so glorious that it doesn't matter whether we are fallen or whether we are exalted or whether we are brahmanas or whether we are shudras. Doesn't matter. Whichever position you are, practice the limbs of bhakti. Now take out time to hear about Krishna, take out time to chant about Krishna, chant Krishna's name, read Prabhupada books, and wherever you are under instruction of bona fide spiritual master, you will progress in bhakti, and you are progressing towards the ultimate goal of life, that is to attain loving devotional service unto the lotus feet of Krishna. So that's what, these are some highlight points which I wanted to discuss. Of course, we began with the translation, as I mentioned, that being in any position you can practice bhakti, provided you have taken shelter of spiritual master. And Prabhupada gave wonderful explanation in his purport about how Varnasrama system is essential, and there are some demoniac people who do not accept this Varnasrama system. And we discussed elaborately that Varnasrama is needed to attain material stability, right? And if you have material stability and spiritual stability in ashrama, then you can practice bhakti and attain goal of life and set an example for many others to follow around you. And Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu also did not reject Varnasrama as the lifestyle. He rejected Varnasrama as the ultimate goal of life. And he also supported Varnasrama as a lifestyle which is essential to be for our spiritual stability, right? Practicing spirituality nicely. And then we saw that bhakti is definitely transcendental, but as practitioners of bhakti, we may not be transcendental. So understanding our position, we have to stabilize ourselves and practice bhakti in the right varna and ashrama, and thus make progress, right? So I would like to end here. If there are any questions or any comments, you're most welcome. And thank you so much.
Thank you so much.
Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare. Hare Ram, Ram Ram, Hare Krishna.
Thank you so much, Prabhuji, for such a wonderful class about on Varnasrama. You briefly explained how we should follow, how Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, and you gave a compilation of your class also at the end. So it was very wonderful, Prabhuji. Your class gave many points, like how Chaitanya Mahaprabhu told it should not be our goal of life, Varnasrama. Our goal of life is to just reach back to God. And you also told about the chanting, like early in the morning when we do chanting, we don't have any disturbances in the mind. So that's why it's told that we have to do in the morning. So thank you so much, Prabhuji, for such a wonderful enlightening class. So thank you also for your association. So devotees, if you have any questions or realizations, please go ahead. Hare Krishna.
Normally here there is a saying, normally, that if you don't have any questions, probably everything was clear or maybe you couldn't understand anything. So I hope you could understand what I spoke, at least some part of it.
Hare Krishna,
Yes,
Prabhuji.
it was wonderful, Prabhuji.
Very, very beautiful class, Prabhuji. Thank you so much. It was very clear and no questions because you explained in a language and very practical examples. Also, you have given how, one of the nature, whatever the nature is there, the person, if they are not situated in that kind of nature, automatically he is suffering. He needs to be, where he will be happy. That's then he will success in his life. And also you are telling whatever path we are in, it is the ultimate goal is to attain the supreme love. That is what the ultimate goal, whatever varna we are in, whatever. But still, the goal is that we just not practice the regulative principles just for like that. But the goal we should never forget. Thank you so much, Prabhuji, for such a beautiful class.
Thank you, Mataji, for summarizing. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Mataji. So, Prabhuji, I have one small question. Sureshwar Prabhuji, you have a question? Please go ahead.
Yes. Hare Krishna, Prabhuji. Thank you, Prabhu. Dhanavad Pranam. Thank you for walking us through the Varnasrama system. So, Prabhuji, one question from the translation, Prabhu, word to word synonyms. Say here, if you see, Krishna is being translated to of the mode of ignorance. The word Krishna is being translated to the mode of ignorance. Can you see that, Prabhu? Why is that?
Yeah, I can see that. Yeah.
I couldn't understand, Prabhu.
Okay, so Prabhuji's name is Sureshwar Shyam Prabhu.
Yes.
Prabhuji, unfortunately, Prabhuji, I would like to admit I am not the right person to answer this question because I myself don't understand intricacies of Sanskrit language.
Okay.
But I normally read Prabhupada purports and I accept because it's coming from a great Acharya, especially the translation. So Krishna here is definitely, I can see here, it's been translated as mode of ignorance. Well, in Sanskrit is such a vast language, Prabhu. And according to the context, the meaning of the name also changes, right? So that is why when there is an incident of Indologists coming to India and they tweaked the meaning of different Sanskrit words in Vedic scriptures and totally different meaning was interpreted. So one thing which I understand is that's why it's very important, all the Sanskrit text we have to understand from the mouth of a realized Acharya. Then we can understand the true meaning behind every word. So for me, I have just accepted whatever Prabhupada has written, and maybe somebody who's more proficient in Sanskrit language can answer your question better, Prabhuji. Kindly forgive. So here I see in chat some Krishna also refers to dark. Okay, maybe. So maybe it's connected that way. Okay, and
yeah, thank you.
Hare Krishna. Thank you, Prabhuji. Tiffany Mataji, please go ahead, Mataji.
Hare Krishna, Prabhuji, please accept my humble obeisances. All glories to Srila Prabhupada. I'm so sorry I'm not on camera, but I'm still I'm cleaning this morning and I'm still in my pajamas, so I'm so sorry. Please forgive me.
That's all right. Yes.
I just wanted to say thank you so much for such a wonderful class. This is my first time being in a class of yours, and it was really wonderful to get such a clear explanation of Varnasrama. Here in the West, it's often a hotly debated topic, and you explained it so well, and you also explained the importance of it, which I don't think is always clear. As a Western devotee, it's kind of, people get kind of confused with the term. So I'm very grateful for your class, and I am actually planning to share it with friends. It was very good. And yes, just thank you for your service, Prabhuji. Hare Krishna.
Thank you, Mataji. Thank you so much. Thank you. Hare Krishna.
Thank you, Mataji. Hare Krishna. So yes, Prabhuji, as Mataji told you, very well explained about Varnasrama, where we got, I think I got cleared on the system of Varnasrama, which you explained today. So Prabhuji, if you have, you have time, Prabhuji?
I have time.
Okay, Prabhuji. So, Prabhuji, one question, Prabhuji. Like you were saying, like Varnamas about the body actions. We are given the Varnas. In the Varnas, we have to use their bodily actions to do the work, right? So, and for Grihastha Ashrama, like Ashrama, then what we have to do, Prabhuji? I didn't get some point you were saying that time. So,
okay, Varna basically means to recognize the skills that Krishna has endowed upon you, and how to use those skills. It could be mental, intellectual, or physical skills in the service of society for your own livelihood, and understanding that the purpose of all these activities which you're doing is for the pleasure of Lord. So in Grahastha Ashrama, if you are, it becomes even more important, right? Because in Grahastha Ashram, to earn a livelihood is necessary, right? For your own bodily maintenance and to maintain your dependence. So it is very essential that you recognize your nature and in which Varna do you belong to. Though it may not be always practically possible, because the way the society is built, you're sometimes bound by certain rules and certain systems. But then you should at least hear Shastras and at least work towards it under guidance of a true well-wisher, counselor or anybody. And if you see in Vedic times how the system was, Gurukul system, how it used to work is there used to be a guru and many disciples under the guru, and then guru would very carefully observe each and every disciple and trying to see that what is the nature of every disciple. It was not like a common syllabus for all the students in the Gurukul. Every student was very he was observed by the guru to see that, okay, this person, this particular student has this abilities. So let me refine his Brahmanical skills. Let me refine his teaching skills or whatever he can recognize. Or let me, I can see that he has military abilities. He has an administrative ability. So let me encourage him to become a Kshatriya, a good Kshatriya. Right? Likewise, as a Vaishya or even as a Shudra. Now, Shudra, sometimes the word is considered, it's quite derogatory. Oh, I'm not a Shudra. See, Shudra is also very, very good position, because a Shudra agrees and takes his position and he uses his physical abilities in service of Krishna, right? In service of the society, right? It's not that it's a derogatory position. He may not have intellectual abilities, but he has physical ability. So as a Grahastha, it becomes very important that one recognize one's Varna, one's physical, mental or intellectual abilities, and engage that in service of society and Krishna. And then being in that position, practice bhakti, give time in a day, quality time for practicing limbs of bhakti, like chanting, hearing Bhagavatam, doing services on regular basis, and thus he will very steadily and peacefully progress in his life, spiritual life.
Okay, thank you so much, Prabhuji, for that wonderful explanation. So your class was really ecstatic today. So devotees, if you have any questions, please go ahead.
Hare Krishna, Prabhuji.
Hare Krishna.
Thank you so much for the wonderful class. And thank you for coming on the call and giving your association to us. So thank you so much. So one point I like that Varnashram is not the goal of life, but it's like, the lifestyle. But in India, they like, misuse like caste system and Varnashram, they mix up, and because of that, Brahmanas, they exploit people, and many people who are like not, they are like Shudras, they convert into Christianity. So what can, as a ISKCON, what can we do, Prabhu, for that?
The best thing that we can do is spread awareness, Mataji. At least we should, first thing is we should be convinced, like ourselves, that the goal of any system that Krishna has created cannot be, can never be wrong, right? Krishna's system has to be perfect. So we have to understand that whether we have to set example for others. Even if I am a Brahmana or a Kshatriya, I have to understand I am simply a servant. I am servant, Krishna's servant, I am his devotee servant. And we have to spread awareness. What else can we do? I don't know. We have to spread awareness by preaching and talking about it to as many people around us as possible, and creating system by which this awareness can be spread. And that's what ISKCON is doing. That's what Prabhupada also has done. Now he did, and his disciples are doing it. And as grand disciples, we should also try to do it on behalf of Prabhupada and try to spread awareness, right? And I don't know when will that time come when we can change the entire perception of a country or the entire world, but surely that day will come one day. And Krishna has his own plans to implement it. But first thing is we have to understand it, and we have to make it aware to whomever we come in contact with, right? That's the best thing that I can think of that we can do, right?
Thank you, Prabhuji. Very wonderful. So, Prabhuji, I have one more question. Like, after 50, we have to take Vanaprastha. But in US, we saw like, devotees, they have to work because to cover the insurance and everything.
Right.
So we are 50 plus, but we are still working and having jobs and doing the regular things what we used to do.
Right. So yeah, good question. So after 50, we have to take Vanaprastha. I didn't say that it's compulsory to retire at 50. Well, one has to understand that now I'm aging. After 50 crosses, then we have to start preparing ourselves. At least we can do how I can reduce my material responsibilities or minimize it, if not completely doing without it, at least preparing our life. I don't know, you're telling about some insurance or maybe some other things may bind him or her to work or continue to work, but at least understanding, we should first understand what are the standards that Shastras are setting, right? We should understand, okay, this is the idealistic standard. Now, I may not be able to meet the same standard, but at least I'll try to come closer to it, okay? So the principle is reduce your material responsibility and focus more on Krishna conscious activity. So then maybe you may still have to go to work, but then try to prioritize your spiritual activities more, which you have to anyways do, but then work towards it. That's the best thing that one can do, and make plans so that at least in due course of time you can do without it, right? That's the best thing that I can think of, right? Because in society today, there's a lot of hodgepodge, and it's not always possible to just retire at 50. You may still have children who have not yet got settled in their own lives, but you have to work towards it, understand the principle and work towards it, and come as close as possible to the ideal standards, right? That you can do. Is that okay, Mataji?
Yes, Prabhuji, we have Vanaprasthas here, like, Kaumudiki Mataji and Lalita Mataji and Dinabandhu Prabhu. They are all, retired, and they are practicing Krishna consciousness fully.
Wonderful. Such a great inspiration for all of us. Right. Ultimately, the material world is designed in a way that it teaches detachment. It forces you to be detached, right? Either by getting frustrated by the material world or by learning from Shastras and voluntarily getting detached. But then that's how the material world is designed. That's Krishna's creation. So he has a perfect science behind everything. So yeah, that's how it is.
Thank you so much, Prabhuji, for that wonderful explanation. Prabhuji, there is a question in the chat.
Right, yeah.
Hare Krishna. So, shall I read it for you, Prabhuji?
Please, yes.
Okay, Hare Krishna, Prabhu. It's from Rajdas Prabhuji. Hare Krishna, Prabhu. Dandavats. Beautiful class. Nice examples from CC. Most of us, when we come to know about this Varna ashram, we are already doing something and maintaining our family or paying a mortgage and bills. So how to know if we are doing the right thing? Is there a parameter? That is his question, Prabhuji.
Yeah, this is the state of most of the people in this world. You're not an exception, Prabhuji. So by the time we come in contact with bhakti, probably many things we realize that, oh, I wish I would have known this some 20 years back or some years back, then I would have definitely been a better person and I would have implemented this. Well, that's true. But one thing which you have to understand is bhakti is so glorious, bhakti is so powerful that it really doesn't matter from which point of time you are starting, right? We have so many examples. We have examples in Shastras of Khatwanga Maharaj just perfected in 45 minutes, one moment. And we have example of Parikshit Maharaj just in 7 days. So what matters the most in bhakti is whether now I have realized what is importance of Krishna consciousness. So how am I utilizing my time now? That's most important, because ultimately Krishna is the controller. And it's Krishna's will that you have got bhakti at a certain point of time in your life. So accepting this as Krishna's will, no, let us take this process very seriously from this point onwards. Doesn't matter if you're a 20-year-old boy or you're a 70-year-old man, doesn't matter. Bhakti is so glorious, it has such power that just one holy name helplessly chanted by Ajamil, it just washed away all his sins in all this life and all his past life. So we don't have to worry about the past. There is no use of lamenting about the past. Now, your question is, we are already paying bills, we are doing this right now because we didn't come to know about all this thing earlier. Doesn't matter, Prabhuji. Whatever situation you are in right now, make best utilization of it. Maybe you couldn't practice bhakti when you were young, no problem. At least you give opportunity to your children and many more younger generation and explain them glories of bhakti and set a right example at this moment. And definitely we cannot run away from our responsibility. We cannot run away from the electricity bills or whatever taxes that we are paying. You have to continue to do that. And when we do this in this consciousness, Krishna will purify you even while you're doing material responsibilities also. Because your consciousness is transcendental. Your consciousness is, okay, I am actually working hard for a materialistic person. I'm earning money, I have to pay taxes. But then ultimately, I want to practice bhakti and help all my dependents and the other generation to practice bhakti. If you have this consciousness, even your material responsibilities will actually lead you towards Krishna. It will purify you. Right? So don't worry that already so much of time has passed. That was Krishna's will. So now is the time for you to practice and you can become serious and perfect your life. So that's the best we can do. We all can do.
Thank you so much, Prabhuji.
Thank
It was a wonderful explanation. Yes, most of us we feel that why this much years passed by, as you told correctly. So yes, so we will follow the instructions which is told by Krishna. At least we will try to follow the instructions, I feel. So devotees, if you have any questions, please go ahead. Otherwise, we can end the call here.
Hare Krishna, Prabhuji. And very, very, very nicely you have explained how the Varnasrama system can work. It's not that it is because it's scientific and it's established by Krishna. So it must work. Thank you, Prabhuji. Hare Krishna.
Thank you, Ataji. Thank you so much.
Okay.
Hare
So,
Krishna, Prabhu.
Yeah.
Hare Krishna, Prabhu. Thank you for the wonderful class. My question was that according to the Varnashram system, how can we help our younger generation to make a career choice? If you could help in that, according to their tendencies. As a parent, how should we guide them?
Right.
That
So,
the example you were giving of your friend who is frustrated. So
right.
our kids are not frustrated, and also they grow in bhakti.
Right. Yes, Mataji, for this probably there's another complete session given by many experts in ISKCON about parenting and other things. But whatever I know, I'll just speak. So, foremost important thing which was practiced in the Gurukul days, the Vedic times, is, as I mentioned, the Guru is very keenly observing, he's observing each and every disciple, right? So investment of time is very essential. Especially parents should invest at least quality time to understand the nature of their children. I don't know how it is in West. Of course, in India also it has become a great challenge these days. Parents are becoming more and more busy, and they prefer that they would buy a smartphone or an iPhone to the child so that child is engaged in something, and a high-speed internet is given to the child, and then he's lost in a world, in an artificial world, the child. And parents really don't have time because they have taken a big bungalow, they have to pay EMIs, so they have to earn a lot of money. So they have both husband and wife, they have to work. So then it's very difficult, it's becoming challenging. So I don't know how much practically it's possible, but then quality time that parents should spend with children, that's very important. Even though you may not be able to spend hours together, but at least take out some time, like our sadhana. Parents trying to understand and they should open up to the parents. They shouldn't feel fearful, or they shouldn't feel, they should not go and open up to some other person, outsider, rather than to the parents. They should feel comfortable talking to you. So one thing which can be done is investing time to understand their nature, giving them exposure to different field of activities by which they can actually practice and open up if they have some skills. And then a general norm which many parents follow, which is very important, is not to pressurize, not to put our own expectation on our children. It's not that in India, it's very common that if a child is born, then he has to either become an engineer or doctor. Anything else, if he becomes, then it's an insult. So in today's world, there is so many different opportunities for one to grow in career, and one should understand that and give exposure and not pressurize them, right? Sometimes if the child is not getting good grades in the school, then the parent put so much of pressure. See, education is not just one parameter, just the only parameter to judge how intelligent your child is. The education system itself may not be perfect, right? There are different children who have different ways to memorize things. Some have logical memory. If you explain something with proper logic, they can understand it. Some have visual memory. If you explain the same concept with some visual pictures, they can understand it better. Some have mugging up parrot-like memory. You can just mug up something. So we can't just put one parameter and label somebody, or you're intelligent, or you're a fool. So parents have to spend time to understand all this, the nature of child and what kind. Definitely everybody is endowed with one kind of nature, one type of skill. We have to understand it and give exposure to them so that they can exercise those talents in their own lives. And then gradually pray to Krishna to give us direction. There are many experts in ISKCON here. Raj Prabhu has mentioned something, who they're already working in this direction. We have sent Elder One to Bhaktivedanta Gurukul in Vrindavan, hoping he can learn real values of life. From Canada to India won't be easy transaction, but certainly. Yeah. Right, yeah. So already Bhaktivedanta Gurukul in Vrindavan and many other places, they are attempting to help children moving closer. That's what I mentioned, understanding the Vedic standards, the ideal standards, and trying to practice as close as possible to it, even though it may not be practically possible in today's day and age, but trying to go as close as possible to that, right? That's what we can do. Is that okay, Mataji?
Yes, Prabhu, thank you.
Hare Krishna. Hare Krishna. Okay,
thank you so much, Prabhuji. Yes, so devotees, let's pay our obeisances, Prabhuji. Thank you so much, Prabhuji, for your wonderful, valuable time and association. And we expect our association in future also. Devotees, let's pay our obeisances. Vancha kalpatrupasya kripa sindhubhya cha patitanam pavanebhyo vaishnavebhyo namo namaha. Ananta koti Vaishnava Vrinda ki jai. Shila Haridas Thakur ki jai. Shila Prabhupada ki jai. Grandras Srimad Bhagavatam ki jai. His Grace SutaGoswami Prabhuji ki jai.
Hare Krishna, Prabhuji. Thank you so much.
Prabhuji, very wonderful class.
Thank you for such a wonderful class.
Thank you, Prabhuji. Dandavat
Hare
pranam.
Krishna, Prabhu. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Hare Krishna, dear devotees. We will be having Dormandal Parikrama now. So please stay back. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Mataji.
Hare Krishna, thank you all for staying back. Today we will see day 8 and day 9, Modadramadvip and Rudradvip. You can just give me 1 minute. Yeah, just tell it. Yeah. So yesterday we have seen Ritudvip and Janudvip, where Janudvip from Janu Muni's ear, Ganga Devi has come. So we ended there at the Janudvip. So we will start to Modadramadvip. So this is very special dvip, very nice pastimes. Before we start, we'll seek the blessings of Shri Radha Madhav, Shri Panchatattva, Shri Nrsimhadev, Srila Prabhupada, all the acharyas, and all the assembled devotees. And then we will start. So Modadramadvip is representing Dasyam. And this is non-different from Bhandirvan in Vrindavan. So what happened, Modadramadvip, as we have discussed in the first day, the Lord has appeared, all the 4 Yuga avatars appeared here, like Nrsimhadev is there in Nrsimhapalli. Then we have seen Varahadev also appeared. Then Krishna came in Samudraghar. Then now Ramachandra has come in Modadramadvip. Then Kali Yuga, Chaitanya Mahaprabhu is anyways there in Navadvip. So Ramachandra's pastimes are also here, and let's see. So he revealed a secret here to Sita. This place is now called as Mamgachi, and this place is non-different from Ayodhya. So Modha means pleasure, Druma is a tree, Dvip is an island. So there is a pleasure shown under a tree in this Dvip. So what is that? We will see. So what happens in the previous Kalpa, Lord Ram, when he came to live in the forest, he built a cottage under a banyan tree. And when he built like they came to Navadvip and he built a cottage, and then he was laughing, seeing the effulgence of Navadvip and seeing the place, beautiful place. He was laughing, and Mother Sita asked, like, why are you laughing? Then he said, in Kali Yuga, I'm going to appear here. But when I appear here, I'm going to take sannyas, and I will leave you. You will come as Vishnu Priya. I will leave you, and I will leave my mother Kausalya, who comes as Sachi Devi. I will leave, I'll take sannyas and I'll go. And later in this Yuga, right now, I'm going to worship you as Golden Sita. And when I leave, like in Kali Yuga, when I leave, you're going to worship me in my golden form. If you remember in Dameshwar Mahadev, Vishnu Priya was worshipping that wooden like golden complexion wooden deity. So he said, now I will worship you, and later you are going to worship me. And she will ask, like, why are you leaving me and your mother? And Lord says, because you will relish the prema bhakti in like you'll feel love of separation, the vipralamba bhav, and you'll get a lot of prema bhakti. That's why. So he says devotees enjoy pleasure even in that. And he also reveals that this Navadvip Dham is very, very dear to me. And this Ramavata, this banyan tree where we are staying now, in Kali Yuga, this will be invisible, but we are staying here eternally. And then Lord asks Mother Sita, close your eyes. He gives the vision of that golden Gauranga avatar, and she feels very, very ecstatic. And Lord Lakshmana also knows everything, and he becomes very ecstatic, and he becomes very impatient because he wanted to see that form. And he also becomes very ecstatic to hear the pastimes of Nadia. And from here they move to Dandakaranya. But before Dandakaranya, they lived here for some time in Navadvip. And then Guhaka Raja, he comes as a Brahmana. He was Sadananda Bhattacharya. So he only knows Lord Ram. He knows only one thing in the three worlds is Lord Ram. So when Lord Gauranga was born, he also came to Jagannath Mishra's house. And he saw, he only could see. He could see that all the demigods had come to have darshan of the Lord. Then he understood all the demigods had come. Maybe this is the Supreme Personality of Godhead. So then he went home, and on his altar he had Lord Ram, Sita and Lakshman on the altar. And when he was meditating in front of his altar, he has seen Gaurasundar sitting and all the demigods worshipping him. Then he got very confused. He looked, and then when he again, what happened? After that vision, again Lord Ram, Lakshman, Sita, and Hanuman were sitting on the altar. So then he understood Lord Gauranga and Lord Ram, Sita, Lord Ram is not different. So he would always come to Mayapur and he would visit Gaurachandra and feel very, very ecstatic. And in Modadrumadvip, there is the birthplace of Srila Vrindavan Das Thakur. In mid-morning sessions, we are seeing Chaitanya Bhagavat by Srila Vrindavan Das Thakur. So this is his birthplace. And actually, at his birthplace stood the house of Malini Devi. Malini Devi is the wife of Srivas Thakur. And Malini Devi, in her previous Leela, she came as Ambika, the nurse, the nanny of Krishna. And her sister was Kilimbika, Ambika's sister. So Kilimbika is in Gaura Leela came as Narayani. She is the mother of Srila Vrindavan Das Thakur. And when Narayani appeared here in Gaura Leela, she got remnants of the Lord when she was very young. Lord gave her remnants. So now here in his birthplace, there is a Gaudiya Math temple, and the deities are Srinitai, Gauranga, Jagannath, Baldev, Shubhadra, and these deities were worshipped by Vrindavan Das Thakur, and Radha Krishna deities are also there, which was established by Bhakti Siddhanta Saraswati Thakur. And Srila Vrindavan Das Thakur is the last disciple of Sri Nityananda Prabhu. So these are the deities established by Bhakti Siddhanta Saraswati Thakur, and this Gaur Nitai, Jagannath, Baldev, Shubhadra are the deities of Srila Vrindavan Das Thakur. And Vrindavan Das Thakur in his Krishna Leela, Gaura Ganodesha Deepika mentions that he is a Kusuma Pida Gopa. And then we have Saranga Murari's house. Saranga Murari is called Saranga Thakur. So he's also called as Saranga Pani. Saranga Murari's house, this Bakula tree is very, very special. We'll see why. But Saranga Murari used to worship the Lord under this banyan tree in a very secluded place. And actually Chaitanya Mahaprabhu also would visit this place, and Saranga Murari used to chant a lot of Hare Krishna Maha Mantra under this tree. So a small temple is there right now, and it is supported by again Gaudiya Math. And these deities, like here Vasudev Datta's deities are also there. So Radha, Madan, Gopal, these are worshipped by Vasudev Datta, and the smaller ones are Radha Gopinath, worshipped by Saranga Murari, and the smallest are Radha Govinda, and Sivananda Sen worship them. The deities of Gaura Gadadhar are worshipped by Bhakti Siddhanta Saraswati Thakur and his disciples. So these are the deities. Madan Gopal is there, Radha Krishna, Gaur Gadadhar, and big Radha Krishna. So these are the deities. So what happened was, after many years, after Vasudev Datta and Mukunda Datta, first Saranga Thakur was there. Then these Vasudev Datta and Mukunda Datta also had their deities, and they were staying here worshipping, taking care of the deities. So after they left, some strangers came and they're staying in this house. So they didn't want the deities, and they decided to throw the deities because they didn't want, and they didn't know the value of the deities, so they just wanted to throw. So once Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati Thakur's disciple, Sagar Maharaj, he was I think he was going in a train to Calcutta, and in his dream, the dream appeared, and in the dream, Madan Gopal deity was coming and telling, they wanted me to throw in Ganges. You please come and save me. I am in Mamgachi. Please come and save me. And my name is Madan Gopal. Then Sagar Maharaj immediately returned, and he went to the there, and he inquired with the devotees. He went there, and when he asked the people staying there, and he asked, do you want to throw the deities? And they said, yes, we want to throw them. And then there Sagar Maharaj requested if he can have them. So he took all the deities, and they took a land, and they established these deities worship. And this Bakul tree, opposite to Saranga Murari's temple, this Bakul tree is there, where once Saranga Murari worshipped his deities here. So the speciality is Lord Gauranga Mahaprabhu would visit here, and one time when he came, this tree almost died, and the leaves were withered. It looked very pale, and immediately Lord Gauranga Mahaprabhu hugged this tree, and immediately it rejuvenated, like it became very beautiful, nice greenish, very fresh, it became like it came back to life, very nice. So this tree is called as Kalpa Vriksha tree. So this is very, very special tree in Mayapur Dham. Actually, Lord Krishna, before this place was Vidyanagara, and we have seen that Lord would go and have his debates there in Vidyanagara, Vidyavachaspati's school. Then after that, after the debate, he would come here and he would rest here. This tree is more than 500 years old. And then Saranga Thakur, he didn't want to initiate any devotees, but Chaitanya Mahaprabhu was asking him. He didn't want to give any initiation, but that day he thought, whomever I see first, I'm going to give initiation. So what he does, he goes to take bath in Ganges, and when he there was a dead body in the water. And he just, while taking bath, he just pushes it off. Then immediately the dead body comes back to life, and he says his name was Murari. He was bitten by a snake. That's why he was dead in the water. He fell down in the water, and immediately he came back to the life. So because he said he will initiate the first person he is going to see that day, he will initiate Murari. And Murari, instead of going back to his parents, he wanted to serve his Guru Maharaj. So he stayed back and he served Saranga Thakur. That's why he's also called as Saranga Murari Thakur. And Saranga Thakur in his Vrajalila serves as Nandi Mukhi Gopi. And Arkatila is a place it's non-different from Surya Kunda in Vrindavan. And Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati Thakur only found this place. Arka means sun, so there is a high hill on the bank of Ganges. So this is the place, like Arkatila is equal to Surya Kund, where Radharani would come and worship Surya Bhagavan every single day in Vrindavan Leela. We have seen those pastimes. So that is there. And then there is Vaikuntapura, because this place is non-different from Vaikunta. So what happened? Narada Muni one time, he visits Kailash. And who was there in Kailash? Lord Shiva. And Shiva was talking to his associates about Lord Krishna. And seeing Narada Muni felt very, very ecstatic, and he asked, from where are you coming? And Narada Muni says, I'm coming from Vaikunta, and I heard Lord talking about Nadia, Navadvip. And Shiva felt very ecstatic. Oh, Lord is talking about Navadvip? Then Narada Muni understood the Lord is going to manifest and show his pastimes in Navadvip. So he leaves Kailash and he will come to Navadvip. And he thought, okay, will the Lord give me darshan? And will I see Vaikuntanath here? Because when I went to Vaikunta, Lord was saying that he's going to appear in Nadia. Then immediately he saw Lord with all his associates. Then Narada Muni got so overwhelmed and he went to Dwaraka. And when he went to Dwaraka, Lord Krishna received him very nicely. And Narada Muni said, I'm coming from Navadvip. Then Krishna understood his intention. So Krishna changed into Gauranga Mahaprabhu. He transformed and showed the Gauranga Mahaprabhu's form, and immediately he became Krishna. Then Narada Muni felt so ecstatic and he started shedding tears. And he kept that form in his heart and he meditated. And Krishna said, announce to everybody that I'm going to appear in Nadia. So he came to Kailash and he explains everything to Lord Shiva, and Lord Shiva also becomes very ecstatic, and Narada Muni comes back to Nadia again, and he will be thinking, will I again get the vision of that I have witnessed in Dwaraka? And immediately he will see Lord Gaura Sundar sitting on Ratna Simhasan. So this place is also, that's why called as Vaikuntapura, and Lord Narayana is eternally residing here with Sri Devi and Bhudevi. And also once there was an old Brahmana who was a great devotee of the Lord, and he was present during the wedding ceremony of Lakshmi Priya and Gauranga Mahaprabhu, and he felt so ecstatic, like in this marriage, and he understood he is Lord Narayana, because he could see that instead of seeing Gauranga and Lakshmi Priya, he could see Vishnu and Lakshmi. So he understood that these are none other than my Lord, and he became so ecstatic. He went back to his kutir and he started offering prayers, and he was just meditating on the Lord, and Lord manifested his Vaikuntha pastimes, and he saw Lord Gauranga sitting on Ratna Simhasan with Lakshmi in his kutir. Then Lord blessed him and he said, when I come in Nadia, you are going to come as my dearmost associate. So again, it proves that Vaikuntha is also there in Nadia. This whole Brahmana also got vision of Vaikuntanath. And then Ramanujacharya also visited here. Ramanujacharya was in Jagannath Puri, and he got instruction from Lord Jagannath. He said, go to Navadvip. Lord Krishna in his full form is like his Gauranga. He is there. And he says the entire spiritual sky is resting there. And Navadvip is not different from Vrindavan. So, and I am eternally staying there. So you just go there. And Ramanujacharya was asking, why isn't Gaura Tattva not explained in Shastra? So there's a very big philosophical debate, but finally he says, if my mercy is not there, the truth will not be revealed, and the truth is beyond an argument. So that can be revealed only by my mercy, and it will be revealed only to my devotees. So Ramanujacharya came to this Vaikuntapura, and he had darshan of his worshipable Lord Narayana, and he fainted seeing that form. And Narayana, and immediately he saw Gauranga form and he fainted. Then Lord kept his lotus feet on his head and he woke up. And in Gaura Leela, he came as Sri Ananta. And there is Mahatpura. So Mahatpura, why is it called Mahatpura? Because Mahat, like the greatest amongst all the human beings, Mahat, they stayed here. So who is that? One time the Pandavas, because in their exile they were visiting different places, they were living in Ekachakra. And Yudhishthir felt that this place is so beautiful, and he felt that there is something very special about this place, and he felt that he had never seen this place. And he was thinking, why am I feeling so ecstatic? Maybe this place is related to place of like Krishna, and maybe Krishna did some pastimes, and that night he gets a dream. Nityananda appears and Nityananda says the glories of Nadia, and then they moved to this place from Ekachakra. They all moved to this place, Pandavas, and Yudhishthira got a desire. Like, will I get the same dream that I got when I was in Ekachakra? And immediately falls in sleep. And the dream, Krishna and Balaram will give their darshan, and they will say that they're going to appear here. And then they say, when we appear, you will come as Ramananda Rai. So Lord shows the form that he's going to appear. That is Gauranga Mahaprabhu's form. And from here, the Pandavas left to Kamyavan. They moved to Kamyavan. So Pandavas got Yudhishthira Maharaj got the darshan of Lord Gauranga here. And because the Pandavas and Yudhishthira is the greatest among all the human beings, he's the great personality, this place is called Mahatpura, because that Mahat stayed here for some time. And that's the end of Modadrumadvip. So we will go to Rudradvip. Rudradvip is showing Sakhyam. And Rudra is Mahadev, like Shiva, Lord Shiva, we know. So Lord Shiva was very, very happy that knowing that Gaurachandra will be appearing in Nadia. Just now Narada Muni also had said, so he's very happy that he's going to come, and he was speaking glories and dancing. The earth was shaking, and all the demigods also came, participated. And they all were saying, very soon in Kali Yuga, we are going to see the Lord, and Lord is going to free everybody from all the sufferings. And Rudra was becoming so ecstatic that Lord himself, like he was visible only to Shiva, he himself came and pacified, like, now you have to settle down, you're getting like too much ecstatic. And Rudradweep is divided into two parts. One is on the eastern side of Ganga and one is on the western side of Ganga. And it is said that 11 Rudras are residing here, constantly saying the names of Gauranga. And Shankaracharya and Vishnu Swami, both, it is also, I'm not sure, but I heard that Nimbarkacharya also visited. But Shankaracharya and Vishnu Swami, it's mentioned in the book also that they have visited. So Shankaracharya, because we have seen yesterday Vidyanagara was here, so it is said that it's the Oxford of the East. So all the scholarly people were residing in Bengal. So if anybody have to prove that they are the topmost scholars, they have to come here, do the debate and win over the scholars here. Then only they'll be proven that they are the first, they're the first, like they're the top amongst the scholarly persons. So Shankaracharya also would come here just to meet all these scholarly persons, then, you know, win over an argument. So he was visiting here, but the Lord appears to him and he says that, I know you are a great devotee, internally you are a very great devotee of mine, but because I wanted you, you came to preach Mayavada philosophy, but here there is no place for Mayavada philosophy. Please go somewhere, like leave Nadia. And he also says already there is Praudha Maya and Vriddha Shiva are already reciting here. So please leave this place. So Shankaracharya will leave the place on the order of the Lord. And then Vishnu Swami also, one time he just with all his devotees, his disciples, he will just come visit this place, and they're all reading the scriptures of Gauranga Mahaprabhu and of the Lord. They have been reading, and Shiva, we know, is a great devotee of the Lord, and wherever somebody is like talking, he gets so ecstatic. So Shiva was very, very pleased by their recital of the Lord's pastimes, and he gives his darshan, and he says, from now onwards, this sampradaya that you are preaching, this will not be Vishnu sampradaya. I am accepting you as my disciple, and this will become Rudra sampradaya. So that's why Vishnu Swami is the Acharya of Rudra Sampradaya. And Lord comes in the dream, and Lord comes to Vishnu Swami, and he will say that, you know, you have received the blessings of my greatest devotee, Lord Shiva. So now you just you're very blessed. So he'll say, now you go and just do your preaching. And he met in Gaura Leela, he came as Vallabha Bhatta, and he met the Lord at Purushottama Kshetra and Jagannath Puri. So Shankaracharya and Vishnu Swami came to this Rudradweep. And the last place in our today's discussion will be Nirdaya Ghat. So Nirdaya means no daya, no mercy. So what happened? Just like Lord Ram left to forest, and just like Krishna left Vrindavan, and what kind of emotions were being exhibited by the Ayodhyavasis, Vrajavasis. Same, Lord, when he took sannyas and he went on his way to Katwa, he crossed this here, like the Ganga that he crossed was this place, Nirdaya Ghat. So like mercilessly, the Lord, left everybody, and he crossed over Ganges, and this happened at the end of Jan 1510. So he took sannyas and he left Navadvip. So that happened at Nirdaya Ghat. We'll see a video of that too. And finally, we know that this parikrama marg was established by Nityananda. So Nityananda comes, and Nityananda also said that actually the Rasalila happens at Rasasthali place is called as Dhira Samira. So Nityananda said this place is non-different from Dhira Samira. So the Rudradweep is non-different from that Rasasthali place. So Rasasthali place is also there here in Rudradweep. And here is it on the bank of Ganges. Nityananda Mahaprabhu says that. And that is the end of our parikrama. Thank you all so much. Shri Navadvip Mandal Parikrama ki jai. Srila Prabhupada ki jai, and all the assembled devotees ki jai.
Hey, thank you, Mataji. Jai.
Jai. Mataji, I have small videos. Can I show? If you can stop the live.